kutafuta makao mahali mtakaa mkingojea mpango ya serikali. Mwananchi kama anaondoka hapa, tunajua anaenda kukula nini, tunajua anaenda wapi, na tutapanga vile ataishi, kwa sababu hatutaki tena kizirani ya zamani.
As of March 31st, 2024, the total amount of pending bills reported by 47 counties was 150.66 billion Kenya shillings. This reflects a reduction of 8.61 billion shillings over the past 9 months since the start of the 2023/24 financial year. This represents a decrease of 5.4%. By the end of the fiscal year, we anticipate that this figure will decrease significantly.
The total amount that Nairobi County government sent to NMS was 27 billion. And then after that, a pending bill of 16 billion. So Nairobians need to be told how 43 billion was spent in 2 years.
You indicated that, in fact, the handover process, there are still some outstanding issues in terms of handover of handing back of the functions and all the documentation back to the Nairobi County government. Has that process now been concluded?
The only things that are pending are now those the files that are pending payment, because until they pay and conclude, they can't hand those to.
It is very wrong to tell the elected leaders not to attend the meetings where policies are being formulated to affect the people we represent. If you formulate policies around the environmental degradation and Nairobi River Action Plan, how are we going to implement these things if we don't attend and contribute in those meetings? So much covered in corruption that the only thing sometimes they see is to start petty wars with the MCS. It is not the right thing to do. I think it is very unfortunate. We only have one deputy president and one president in this country. We get a salary from the government.
All right, just a soapbox there, giving you an indication of what is happening as far as IBEC is concerned with the pending bills. And we have also Sakaja before the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, you saw there, just also making that accountability regarding NMS and the expenditure as well. So the huge eye-popping figure regarding the 43 million shillings that cannot be accounted for as it stands. And holding court with Dan Marzo here, who is the Senator of Makueni and also the Senator of Tana River, Danson Mungatana. We were eagerly waiting for Omboko Milemba to join us, but he couldn't this morning. Just sent his apologies as well, and Yusuf Hassan as well to join us this morning, but they are no show. But we continue pace. And maybe on the issue of IBEC, where the Deputy President was heading that particular, I think this was the second sitting. Some of the issues that you think should have come to the fore, pending bills being one of them that is huge so far. And it seems, just to hear what you're saying, that that particular figure at least is stepping off, is going down. But from your assessment, do you think this matter has been handled decisively in terms of, just making sure that everyone is paid off? Because we have many farms have closed up. People are frustrated. Some of even people who had taken loans, and they are servicing loans so far. Some of them even have died by suicide. It is that serious. So there has been a bill. I don't know if it's in the Senate or in the National Assembly on how also the pending bills should be handled. I don't know how that particular bill is titled. Maybe you can just give us an up-to-speed reaction on that particular development.
There was a motion.
There was a motion.
There's a motion that is still live in the House because we debated and finished, but the mover has to respond for it to be closed and for us to pass it. The essence of that motion was to bring to the fore the question of pending bills. And the first thing that motion was seeking was that pending bills should be treated as a first charge on the County Revenue Fund, the CRF, so that any person who has a pending bill that has already been approved The money, when it comes, the first thing it does is to pay those ones before it goes into any other thing. Okay? And we also debated the fact that the controller of budget, when she releases the money and has approved that this is the list of the people who are going to be paid, when the money reaches the county governments rearrange those funds again, and they pay their friends, their relatives, and those who are connected with them. So that a person who did a road or a bridge or whatever 5 years ago finds himself without payment when somebody who came in the other day, a company that was set up just the other day, because they know the governor or they know his relatives or whatever, the person is paid. And this one who offered the same service 5 years ago, 3 years ago, because he is associated with a former regime, he is not given his due payment. So we're saying that that must come to an end. We must have a logical way of payment, and it should be, the payment should follow the time when it was due, so that we don't have new people being paid and old people who gave the same service still languishing in poverty. So that motion, most senators, and I was...
Who was moving this motion?
No, the mover of the motion was Senator Ledama Olekina.
Okay.
But it is something that affects all of us. So all of us were in support of that motion. And we believe that once that motion is passed and it is effected, then governors will stop playing these cat and mouse games they do. Friends, relatives, set up companies, and those ones are paid, and the people who have been there for a long time, who have offered the same service, are ignored. The other issue is pending bills that come from NSSF, NHIF. You know, they deduct from the workers, but they don't pass it to the relevant authority. So you'll find someone has worked and is going on retirement and he doesn't have anything because it has not been passed to the other side. So there's a lot of lack of serious financial management within our counties. And so we believe that once this motion is passed and it is effected, then we'll have better management systems within our counties. So that continues to be a problem. Coming to Nairobi, one of the biggest issues would be there was no governor who was handling that matter. The person who was handling that matter was NMS. And NMS was even declared to be illegal by a court. So if an entity was declared to be illegal by a court of law and it has incurred very huge bills, now who should be made to pay? You see, according to me, and this is what I find funny. Somehow, if somebody steals a chicken in my village, or a goat, or a cow, they are treated very, very severely, or they are found with a roll of bang. They are treated very severely in the courts. But somehow, if it is the governor or the officers who are found to have mismanaged in the last financial year, some monies in the millions, you are told investigations are still ongoing, EACC seized of this matter, the DPP is still considering the file, you are told the CID are still on that case, people are recording statement, or we are waiting for approval to prosecute, or EACC has not found this and this other critical evidence for us to forward the file to the DPP. Stories, and then people just get away with it. So I hope with NMS this will not happen. I think the people who authorized misuse of those funds, they should be arrested. Due process should be followed. And in my opinion, negotiations should take place. You have no value for me if you stole 100 million and you went and you are jailed for 6 years or whatever, and there's no money returned. So once you are found,
that money is working for you.
Yeah, that money is still working for you. Once you are found to be guilty,
In fact,
I think
that is the game plan.
the options should be, you have a house in Klelesho, you have a house in Karen, you have a house in Mombasa or somewhere. We do the valuation. They are taken to be state properties. You return back the funds. You return back the funds, and you can go if you want to go. I believe if this approach is enforced as a policy, that people who are involved in criminal accumulation of wealth, peasant accumulation of wealth, absolute stealing that is there, that is going on, if the punishment is that whatever you have in your name, and if it's not your name, your wife's name, if it's not your wife's name, your children's name, will be subject to confiscation. If this can be the punishment for corruption, then it becomes less attractive to be involved in stealing public funds. Because the NMS, it has become like a story. The governor comes and talks about it, he goes away. And I know the next governor will still be saddled with the same 43 billion debt. They will still talk about it and go away. Nobody is being questioned. The officers who are running that outfit are well known. The people who are making the payments are well known. The people who are doing the procurement, the bribes they took, all this is so well known. And how they used to cover it, they bring President Uhuru Kenyatta to launch some beautiful hospital or something. So with that political whatever goodwill that is created, then all those thieves are hiding under there. They are not telling you that project was exaggerated by 100%. Why? Because people are very happy. They have seen this hospital is now working. It looks good. It is in a slum area, but it is looking very nice. The services are there. So all the thieves wanaokoka na hapo. I think if a proper forensic audit is done, the people who are involved are found, and their properties become exchange for their freedom, then that will deter future corruptions. And that same approach should be used for governors. We all know that governors, even who serve for one term, they come out billionaires. So again, their companies, their relatives' companies and all this, they should be in exchange for your freedom. You come, you surrender, you pay back the money, it becomes state property, and you are free. If you don't pay back, you serve the term, full term of whatever it is that you've been found guilty. I think if this approach is taken, it is your freedom or the money. I think it will be less attractive to see corruption, because sometimes the boldness is so much, You hear a governor has deposited 100 million in his daughter's account. I mean, what kind of, or a wife's account, what kind of bravery is that? It's so brazen that I feel nothing will happen to me. I've taken care of everyone, investigative authorities and whatnot, nothing will happen to me. And that attitude is what has promoted even higher and higher levels of corruption. I think we should be firm on this. NMS, we know who was running it. Those people refund or, exchange it for your freedom.
Mm-hmm. So how do you explain 62 million shillings? Because we've had also the current administration, when they came to power, they were, ruminating and, of course, agitating on the issue that the public coffers are empty because there's been a raid. So we can see maybe the truth is coming out right now when we see just little money, or maybe we can call it little because we don't know how much also will be recovered. But 62 million shillings being found in your nephew's house. How do you explain that as well with the public coffers that we're trying to readjust right now so that the country can move forward? But there was no money completely. You were saying, you're focusing and pointing fingers towards the previous administration, but they were ills, and now it's really coming to bear. What is your reaction?
Well, first of all, I think the allegation that the government coffers were empty totally was political, because, the taxman keeps on collecting money.
But you have a scrap of proof right now. The investigation of the CS Treasury is still on. Monies are being recovered. We don't know how many will be recovered.
Well, you know, the CS Treasury, there is a likelihood that you could misconduct yourself, and the fact that investigations are going on, I want to say that no one should be spared for stealing people's money from whatever source, and we should strengthen the ESCC, and more important, we should see recoveries, and that stealing or corruption should be made so expensive that people are scared of it. I think it hasn't been, just like in other countries, where if you steal from government, you can be sentenced to death. You know, in Kenya, somehow the new constitution did away with the death sentence. But when we are amending the constitution in future, we need to bring back death sentence for anybody found guilty of stealing from government coffers, and that money returned so that it cannot benefit that person, his family, relatives, and friends. And it is true, you know, theft has occurred. And anybody who happened to have stolen, you know, government property or misappropriated government monies should face the music. Similarly, this pendy bills issue, there are very many also fraudulent claims against the national government and the county governments. So wherever there is a fraudulent claim, even if it has been processed through court, I think the government should come up with a way of making sure that government pays for value, which can be reassessed. Because if you did a project for 100 million, it should remain of value up to today. So before you pay that pendy bill, you need to verify and make sure that you are paying for value. It's not a fraudulent claim. I believe 3/4 of the pendy bills are fraudulent claims. So people who have worked for the government and have borrowed loans and have done a good job, I think they should be paid as quickly as possible. In fact, the more you accumulate the pendy bills, the more you make government difficult to run. And the more you keep on keeping the government in debt and holding money for entrepreneurs who will be generating more income and taxes, it's self-defeating. And therefore, dealing with the pendy bills is like bankruptcy for the counties. In fact, most counties will be declared bankrupt and the government will be declared bankrupt if you are to offset the pendy bills. So I think the priority should be to pay the pendy bills so that the governments can begin afresh. The county governments and the national government can begin afresh, but only after verification. Because there are very many fraudulent claims in those cases. And whoever is found stealing government money, whoever it is, whether from current government or past government, should face the law, and the money should be recovered, you know, and back to the nation, so that it can be used for the right purposes. But I want to say that there is massive corruption in the country. Government is choked with corruption, and that's why there is very little services to the people, despite a lot of money is being collected in terms of taxes. You still don't see the money in circulation, meaning it is going to somebody's pocket. And therefore, it should be recovered, and ESCC should be professional, should not just serve political whims. We should see current ministers in government who have committed corruption, folly. We should see them be prosecuted. But you see, the power to prosecute is vested on the DPP. The DPP's office is also political, meaning the DPP sometimes will have to move by political instructions. That shouldn't be the case. It is facts which should lead, and most of the investigations are calculatively shoddy, so that you know somebody has stolen money, you weaken the evidence, and you know the courts will set them free. It should be tightened at the investigation level and the evidence which is being presented. And that's the time even the lawyers should challenge a trial which is not watertight, to be made to be watertight, so that we are not engaged in an exercise, a PR exercise, that we are fighting corruption, yet we are not recovering any money from the thieves.
I want to know as well, because I've seen that the MPs are trying to right now raise their budget from
43.6 billion shillings to maybe double that particular amount to around 63 billion shillings. This is to facilitate, the operations, and this is through the Parliamentary Service Commission. Why do you need this money?
Okay, let me just give you why Parliament needs money, a lot of money.
Because as I saw from the other financial year, you also topped,
but
and
you
now
see,
also you're amping the ante.
Let me explain something. Normally, when it comes to defending what your proposal is, the kitty is small. The Treasury, the whole of Treasury, the amounts that are collected are small. So every department in government, they go to defend what they think is a reasonable amount for their operations. And all these state departments, you are picking up on Parliament, but you haven't asked for what Judiciary was asking. You haven't asked what the Ministry of Health was asking. You haven't asked. Every person goes with a wish list. That's how they do their budgets. Okay?
20 billion stood out for me. That's what I'm asking.
No. If you actually look at the budget,
20 billion.
Almost everyone asks for a very huge amount. And then the reality comes in. Because I know Parliament, PSC, the vote has really, really gone down. I can't give you the figures right now, but I know, for example, now, there's curtailment on travel, that one, very few people are traveling nowadays, okay?
Unnecessarily, not that they're traveling unnecessarily.
No, I'm telling you, even the necessary travels. I know, for example, that I represent Pan-Africa. I've come back and I've still not been able to be paid, okay? So I'll tell you that even necessary travel is being curtailed. But again, it is also being curtailed on the side of the executive because the money has been short. So if you pick up on just one, it is just strengthening the myth that members of Parliament and senators are...
I need to shut your mic. I think it's crackling, right? So,
okay.
So I'll just mute it a bit. We sort it out. But Dan Maz, you can pick it up from...
Yes. What I know is a Parliament has an expense in terms of... there's a requirement for any law you are making to send it back for public participation. And when you are doing public participation for a law like now, we are dealing with the cashew nuts and other nuts. So you have to go to the coastal region, find out what the problem is, find out what is the input of the people, as we did yesterday. Then a team has to go to cashew nut, you go to the cashew nut growing area. You have to go to the ground nuts growing area. And then you've got to go to other areas which deal with this. So you sample out in Western, in Bungoma, and you sample out somewhere in Eastern and Central Kenya, where they grow macadamia, so that you have an input of the people. And I was very surprised in Kwale yesterday. The people of Kwale are so brilliant. They were able to tear down the proposed legislation. You could see that it is useless to the people. And you make Parliament learn. But this goes with an expense. If every committee has to, when it is dealing with the legislation, has to sample out at least 8 or so regions, and when dealing with the people, it shows that, you must have an expense to be able to effectively make a law which serves the people. We came back from Kwale knowing that the law, the legal proposal we have has to be restructured completely. Otherwise, it's not useful to the people. And they say a comparison cross the border in Tanzania, and the cashew nuts are flourishing. They are selling all over the world because the government has organized them well, and there are proper structures. But what structures do you have across in Kenya? They are corrupt structures. The individuals are cashing on poor farmers, and this is what the farmers wanted. And even the farmers came at their own expense. You would imagine how a Parliament was to pay for their transport and their lunch or something like that. But Parliament doesn't have that budget. So it leaves it to individual members of Parliament to organize for that. And I think the budget right now for Parliament is approved correctly. You can see Parliament has been releasing officers from KICC and even committee rooms. You know, that's where the Senate meets the governors for a long time. And even after doing the Bunga Towers, it wasn't enough to comply with the constitutional requirements of 2010. There are still very many members without offices where they can be able to work, research, and plan from. And a lot of work goes before Mungatana comes to speak on the floor of the House. That's why a lot of people find him knowledgeable. He has to have a researcher who researches and sees what are the best practices in the world, so that by the time you present on the floor of the House, you are not, you know, without facts and without, you know, going to the topic into proper details with, you know, research, fingers, so that you can be able to convince the government to amend law properly before it is published and before it serves the people. So there's a lot of work Parliament does. I want to agree that Mungatana is doing a very good job at Pan-Africa. And you see there are 55 countries. But Kenya has reached in a level whereby now Mungatana has to travel at his own expense on behalf of government. I think that's not what it should be. There should be a proper budget for whoever represents us in those international scenarios. And as much as we want to cut costs, we must make sure that even there is no stealing through Parliamentary Service Commission, that the money is allocated to us serve the people and makes it easy for a member of Parliament to work for his people. Otherwise, right now, it is very difficult.
Even by the way, even when, apart from making legislation, there are now like demands for statements. I'll give you an example. There was a lot of hue and cry about how monies are being used in Isiolo County. So the members of the Public Accounts Committee of the Senate, they had to travel all the way to Isiolo County to do their work, to verify whatever claims were being made. And you see, carrying those people, going there, they're not going there on tourism. They are going there because the people have petitioned that our funds are being misused. We are not seeing anything in terms of the development vote. We want to see, so the Senate committee says we want to go there. And you will remember those words that the chairman of the Senate Public Accounts Committee, when he said that I have declared Isiolo a crime scene, you see, because of the kind of things that they went there and found. So when they are doing that kind of thing, they're not doing for ourselves. And the idea must be removed from the minds of people, those who are listening to us, that even people enjoy these travels. Many legislators would rather be away in their constituencies, would rather be away in their counties, instead of doing some of these duties. So you'll never find like 100% they have attended. They have come to Mombasa because there is a statement demanding, for example, the setting up of nuclear energy station in Kilifi. You find out of all of them, maybe 4 or 5 have been able to travel. So a lot of this is public work, and it's being done for the sake of the nation and the people who brought those petitions to the House. And even then, I'll tell you that there are a lot of pending statements that have not been addressed, because sometimes the members have not been able to go and have a listening to the people who have petitioned the Senate. So I was making this point that in budget making, the funds are less, the demands are very high. So when you see Parliamentary Service Commission has gone to do that, they're also making a wish list. The fact of the matter is, at the end of it, it is what is available that will be given to you.
But a member of our Parliamentary Service Commission, Mishi Mboko herself, she's alluded to the fact that we have Bunge Towers right now, which costed how much? 9.96 billion shillings.
Correct.
To put up for the last 10 decades. 14 years, over 10 decades. I mean, over a decade right now.
Yeah,
no, 10 decades, over a decade. What am I saying? Right. So the question is, why would you be seeking to increase you'd be having your sittings here, no more hotels, unless maybe you're doing public participation, which will be once in a while, right?
Yeah.
We expect a significant paring down of the budgets. And this is what the president indicated. And now we've actually commissioned this particular Bunge Towers, then we shouldn't be seeing another popping, figure like 20 billion shillings that you're seeking in terms of, Parliament's budgetary allocation. Do you think it beats down that particular gesture that
no, I've said for now.
If I hear what you're telling me, I can't see what really amounts to that particular figure that you're actually seeking.
Okay, let me just say this. For now, people are presenting what you call wish lists. Then the realities will come where everybody will have to be cut down to reality. So there's the experts in budget making will tell you that you must present your wish list. Then the reality will come when everyone has to negotiate. But I don't think they will get their wish list.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wind up, I'll be remiss if we don't really talk about what is happening with the AUC, because we've had Kalonzo Musyoka also saying that Kenya Kwanza administration should not try and tame Raila, whatever that means.
You saw Cheriot, the leader of majority, try to say that Raila should not criticize government of the flood crisis, and it was after Raila's criticism you saw Ruto going to Mathare, and Raila also talked of weak ministers, and I want to agree with him. Compare now the past ministers like Professor Ongeri and the current Minister for Health. Even when they come for questioning in Parliament, although they were approved at some point, you find them so lacking, out of touch. In fact, the better ministers are people who have been in Parliament, like Wahome. She understands what she's doing very well. She knows the legislation in departments, all the requirements. She has presented them in good time in Parliament, and she comes to defend with confidence. But some of these ministers, even when you summon them to Parliament, they want to run away. They don't want to show their foolishness to the public, or incompetence. So there has been a lot of incompetence. Look, compare Mishuki with the current Minister for Environment. Mishuki will will make sure the riparian land is not interfered with, and he will make sure when the floods come, there is no houses which are going to be waterlogged. So, if as a president you appoint bogus cabinet secretaries, then you are going to work for them. You, the president, you'll have to keep on monitoring.
You're not really answering my question. How is Raila being tamed by the Kenya Kwanza administration? Hasn't he the one who was opted and elected to go for the AU position himself?
He did that, but yes. Kenya Kwanza pretended.
Has he been shoehorned or dragged by the feet to actually go for this particular position?
Eventually when he's appointed, he will not participate in politics. But now that he's not appointed, Kenya Kwanza are expecting from their speech, from Cheriot's speech, they are expecting Raila now that allegedly they are pretending they are helping him to campaign for the OU job. They are saying now that we are doing you a favor, which is not true, please shut up. And Raila Odinga said, you are not doing me a favor. If I get the AU seat, well and good. If I don't get it, it doesn't mean I shut up when you are mismanaging the country and the people's affairs. So Raila Odinga is perfectly within his talk, and he has to criticize the government. Somebody went to shoot Raila Odinga, and the government did nothing. No wonder this government is visited with a lot of spirit of confusion. No wonder we have the floods. Because we killed people during Mandamano, and nobody cares about the children of the poor who died and the blood which got shed. No wonder God has come back to us to teach us his God with floods and with a spirit of confusion, whereby even the government is confused what to do with the flood situation.
Let me just say,
briefly. We wind up on this. I didn't want to start this discussion because we're supposed to be winding up a bit earlier today.
I was in Teso North where Mheshimiwa Oka Kaunya comes from, and we were raising money for the Catholic Church there. So we had a very successful Harambe. Now the issue of Raila, from the way I understood it, it was just to answer what he had said earlier on. He had said that this government has no clue, you know, on what is happening. And we were simply telling him the government actually has a clue of what we are doing. We have a plan. In fact, in terms of disaster management, we have a plan of solving the problem you and your handshake brother left us. We have a plan of pushing this country forward, increasing its GDP, creating employment opportunities, making it an internationally attractive place. We have a plan. That is why you and your handshake brothers were never invited to Washington, D.C. We are going to actually address not only the Senate, but the combined sitting of the Senate. We are not just visitors in Washington, D.C. You and your handshake brother failed, and we are correcting your messes. And right now, we are pushing the country in the right direction. So don't tell us we are clueless. And at the same time, we were also telling him that you don't shoot the person who is driving you. Your driver, you cannot quarrel him and abuse your driver. Your driver, when you are driving, when you are being carried by a driver, you have friendly conversation, because if he gets mad, you can have an accident. You see what I mean? So he's being carried right now, whether he likes it or not. So he's got to, we are not saying he doesn't do his whatever. You can actually do your politics without being abusive.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you can actually say what you want to say in a very respectful manner.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's leave it at that. This is a topic for another day. I didn't want to start it because we will have to wind up just now, because of course we have a live coverage that we have to carry, right? Maybe you can give your closing remarks.
Well, I just want to say that, you know, Kenya is for all of us. We are under very serious crisis with the flood situation, which we didn't plan for or manage well as a nation. And it's a high time, because the floods are still there. People took caution. You know, even when the schools are open, we have to make sure children cross rivers safely. There are a lot of waters which are not expected, and people should not underrate. When you are driving and you find the road is covered, and usually it's not good to, you know, to go through that, because it may cost a life. And we really look forward to overcoming this crisis and Kenya moving forward.
Thank you. Danson Mungatana,
I'm just saying that Kenyans who are out there, we have gone through difficulties before, and we have overcome as a nation. Even in this one, we shall overcome. The most important thing is to stay safe. And those of us who will have the misfortune of living in camps, please watch your children, especially the girl child, because in those camp situations, a lot of bad things also happen. So I pray that we will stay safe.
Indeed.
Until we pass even this challenge.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. We have to end at this particular juncture. Thank you so much for your contribution. I really do appreciate Danson Mungatana coming through, Senator of Tana River, also Senator of Bakwene as well. This is Dan Manzo. As I mentioned, we are waiting as well to be joined by Amboko Milemba, who is a member of parliament for Muhaya, and Yusuf Hassan as well, but they couldn't make it. But nonetheless, we went on with the conversation. But you need to take care, as the legislators are saying here. We shouldn't have lost that one retired doctor in Kakamega who was trying to cross that particular swollen river. We are being warned by the government. Please, let's take this particular warnings very seriously. Thank you for your valid company. We'll be crossing over to Radisson Blue, where the NSSF will be launching their strategic plan. Thank you.